I'm Ben.
And I'm Ben.
We just hit Indonesia.
Now we're going to teach you about it.
Without further ado, let's start this video off with some geography. The nation of Indonesia is located in Asia, specifically the southeastern part of the continent. Being comprised of all islands, it is surrounded by water. Influenced by the Indian and South Pacific Ocean, many seas flow between these islands. These would be the South China Sea, Timor Sea, Java Sea, and Sulawesi Sea. Indonesia's geography can be very unique but also very chaotic. Being comprised of 17,000 islands, Indonesia can appear as an endless archipelago. Going to specifics, the largest island solely belonging to the country would be Sumatra. If you take it into account shared islands, New Guinea would take the throne. And speaking of New Guinea, Papua New Guinea, Malaysia, and East Timor act as Indonesia's only land borders. Depending on what island you're standing on, you can expect to see volcanoes, mountains, and especially tropical rainforests and jungles, with them taking up about half of Indonesia's territory. You can expect to see humid and hot temperatures all year round. Indonesia's location puts it extremely close to the equator, and the closer you are to the equator, the hotter temperatures get.
Indonesia is a republic with a president who serves as the head of state, commander-in-chief, and head of government. As well as this, Indonesia has something extremely similar to our Congress, which is known as the People's Consultative Assembly. The assembly is broken up into two parts, the People's Representative Council and the Regional Representative Council, much like our House of Representatives and Senate. In Indonesia, the Supreme Court is the highest judiciary power. However, when it comes to core laws, the Constitutional Court handles those cases. Indonesia has many political parties, including the Indonesia Democratic Party of the Struggle, Party of the Functional Groups, Great Indonesia Movement Party, Prosperous Justice Party, and National Awakening Party. With all these parties, it is very common for alliances between the parties to be formed pre-election, as well as various exchanges of money and power between them. When it comes to levels of power, Indonesia has four. Starting from smallest, it is villages, to cities, to provinces, to the federal level. Indonesian culture stems from thousands of years, but we begin with my favorite part, their sports. Soccer and badminton are the two most popular sports in Indonesia, closely followed by boxing and basketball. Indonesia is most successful in badminton and weightlifting, which is where they earn most of their gold medals. Indonesia has over 3,000 dancing styles, which are often inspired by various rituals and dances of worship. As well as this, the modern dances from other countries like Korea and Japan are rising in Indonesia. Indonesia, for a long time, had very limited media under Suharto's rule. However, now 11 TV channels play all over the country, while radio stations provide news. Lastly, traditional Indonesian theater often shows Hindu stories that have been passed down, often through the form of shadow puppets. Indonesia has history dating all the way back to between 2 million to 500,000 years ago. Wide range, I know. We will start in 2000 BC, when Austronesian people from Taiwan first landed and swiftly began pushing the native Melanesians out. Their settlements here began prospering due to the land's tropical climate, which was great for growing crops. They also began to trade with the nearby settlements in modern-day India and Chinese regions. By the 7th century CE, the Srivijaya naval kingdom was prospering with various Hindu and Buddhist beliefs. Throughout the 8th and 10th centuries, the Buddhist Sailendra dynasty and Hindu Mataram dynasty rose and fell. Interestingly enough, the Mongols tried to invade in the 13th century. However, they were unsuccessful in their invasion of Java, which led to the Hindu Majapahit taking control and leading the region to a golden age. Europeans arrived in 1512, which saw the quick takeover of the Dutch East India Company, which ruled until 1799, when the Netherlands officially took over. The natives tried to rebel, but were no match for the technology of the Dutch. Eventually, Japan took over in World War II. However, that didn't last long in the grand scheme of things. After the war, Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta established the country as its own, becoming the first president and vice president. The Netherlands tried to oppress Indonesia once again. However, they were unsuccessful and ceded that it was a country in 1949. Since then, Indonesia has faced many internal and external challenges, such as the financial crisis in Asia in 1997 and various uprisings.
Now, let's move on to some historical and famous figures from Indonesia, starting with Suharto, who lived from 1921 to 2008. He's considered by many to be somewhat of a dictator and served as one of Indonesia's most influential leaders. Starting as a military general, his rule began in 1968 and lasted 30 years. Another famous figure would be Agnes Mo. Born in 1986, Agnes was born in the capital of Indonesia and began her media career at around 6 years old, which evolved mainly into music such as pop. Agnes was also the first Indonesian singer to win many awards from musical organizations such as MTV. Next, let's get into some fun facts about Indonesia. Indonesia's unique geography puts it at the top of many stats. For one, it is the biggest island chain in the world, and with it comes the second longest coastline out of any country. Indonesia has also the third most number of volcanoes out of any country. Indonesia also has some very unique wildlife, with it being the exclusive place to see wild Komodo dragons, the national animal, and orangutans. Unfortunately, these rare organisms bring the endangered species count to over 100 different animals. It's difficult to make a summary about a country like Indonesia. What remains clear though is that Indonesia is a diverse group of not only people, but also geography, wildlife, and culture. Its location on a wide span of islands gives it a uniqueness like no other country, at least not to the same magnitude. That being said, thank you for watching and we'll see you in the next country. Bye.